welcome to another installation of the Gimme 5 podcast. Rod Woodward here in Cardiff, Gary Marshall in Doncaster, and despite gremlins in the works, we are going to give this a rattle. So I think we're apologising up front, basically, if there are any technical hitches. Not that there will be, because today we're delighted to say we've got a fantastic guest joining us. He is a compere, a comedian, an award-winning one at that, and a host, you name it, a man of many talents, and he's also an absolutely top bloke as well. Jamie Sutherland's in the house.
Good morning, chaps. I'm here with good Wi-Fi, not like your producer.
He's useless, honestly. Why we have him, I've no idea.
Well, you were sceptical, weren't you, when you heard that Gaz and I were doing a podcast, and you thought, how technologically were we going to be able to pull this off? And nothing so far has convinced you otherwise, has it?
Well, I rang Gaz as soon as I found the news that you were doing one, and I actually said, who's producing it for you, knowing that you two are useless?
And Gaz said, we've got a top guy on the ball here today. And it just so happens, folks, if you're playing a home game, that I think his modem's gone. Is that what they call it, Jamie, a modem?
We'll just go with that for you, yeah.
Modem's gone down.
A modem, yeah.
So how are you doing, mate? You look, it looks like a fair and fashionable day up in, is it the Wirral or somewhere posh in Liverpool?
Wigan, I am.
Oh, Wigan.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, it's lovely today. Really nice day today. Get out, get me walk done, go to the garden centre. Proper treat day today.
Get another few more yuccas by the looks of things.
Oh, yes. I'm going to spend all my self-employed furlough today. That's what I'm going to do.
It looks properly landscaped and everything. Is that your handiwork, or is that the missus there?
She picks, I plant and build. So like the little walls and stuff, or the deck, anything that's in there that I've built watching YouTube.
Wow.
So I realised you could build a wall because there's a YouTube tutorial for everything, isn't there?
Yeah,
literally.
So I just kept thinking, well, if I build I've got another one over there, but I was like, I won't turn it around because it'll spoil it. But it was a bit like, well, if I build a wall and it's not right, I can just knock it down and do it again. You see, same with wood.
Did you put that? Is that like a fence at the back? Did you put the fence in as well?
Yeah.
It's nice, that.
All the way, you can see it there. That's my little couch corner. That
as well.
That's lovely.
All the decking.
Wow. Well, you can tell that you work properly you're our first basically Tesco delivery driver we've had on this podcast, which is amazing.
Well, such as the pandemic has treated us. Do you know what? Like I went, my wife said about September, because we didn't think there was going to be any more sort of subsidies for the self-employed, and she said, listen, you can't get drunk in the garden for the whole year. And I thought, well, I can. It wasn't a challenge. Anyway, so she said, there's a job, go and get a part-time job, top up the money, whatever you make, you don't have to take. And I got into straight away, and I was absolutely gutted because he only gave me the bloody job, didn't he? I was fuming.
I should have gone for that because I can't drive.
Do you know what he said?
What?
Do you know what he said? He said, what's your ideal hours? And I said, Friday, 9 till past. Well, there's loads of us down there. We've got because everyone's in the same position, really, and I think it's good for you. I found it's good to get out, and it's nice to see your name on a rota. It gives you a bit of structure to your week. You don't see any news, so you're happy with that. I'm down there. There's a magician. There's an actor. There's a sports photographer who can't get in the stadiums. There was somebody that worked in a gym that was in and out of doing sessions. So there's a right mixed bag, really. So I'll put it this way, I've got loads of new material for when we get going.
Yeah. And are you chomping at the bit to get back to it, or would you be quite contented now you've settled into the normal realm?
No, mate, I'm not working for a living any day longer than I need to. I can tell you that.
So how about the football? I mean, you do a lot. You're a big Everton fan, of course, and it's the season's petering out, as we Everton fans have gotten used to over the years. How do you see things going?
Well, I think, come this summer, is give everyone a chance. Transfers was always a funny one, wasn't it? In them, there wasn't many big moves last year. But I think this summer we'll see a difference. I think he'll make changes where everyone's had a chance, haven't they, to prove themselves. And they keep saying, we've lost loads at home, but then we've had one of the greatest away records we've had in, probably 100 years or something daft, But I think all clubs are like that. Even Aston Villa have had a record this season, and that's because there's no fans.
Yep.
No grounds are actually an advantage really to any one particular team, are they? And that's why you're seeing, like, Liverpool, for example, had only lost. Well, they hadn't lost a game at Anfield for 4 years, and all of a sudden it became relatively easy to go and get a point or even 3.
Believe it or not, they became the 92nd club this year to win a game at home.
Wow.
They were the final team in the whole of the setup, the league setup, to win a home game.
That's a good stat, Gaz, and you've got that on your own without
exactly
the help of Ian today.
To bring it up, you see. By the way, you said you'd given a chance. You said you're giving everyone a chance. Yeah. We don't want Iwobi back, just so you know. You can keep him.
But positive going forward, I think. Very positive. Yeah. We've got the best man that we could hope for in charge as manager.
He is a class act, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. So let him just do his job and we'll just take it from there.
Have you had the chance to meet him yet?
No.
Well, that's something to look forward to in itself. That'll just be a matter of time, I would think, once you get back to hosting duties.
Fingers crossed it's not long. Yeah, hopefully we get to chat to him and with some points in the bag and a European challenge.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sure Gaz has given you a little bit of a heads up on the format here, but if you just want to give him a quick reminder, Gaz.
Yeah, basically I send the categories out. Our guests pick 4. The final one has to be dinner guests, where you pick 5 dinner guests that you want to sit around the table with and muse. The 4 categories that Jamie's chosen are footballers, comedians, venues/stadiums, films. So we're going to start off with your top 5 footballers of all time, Jay.
All right. Now, some of them I've picked because either they were a fantastic footballer, but some of them are put in because they are fantastic people who I've managed to work with in the day. So the first one is, I'll give you the whole list in one go. We won't have any suspense. There's no point in that, is it? It's not the lottery. I've got Gordon Banks, Derek Temple, Kevin Keegan, Maradona, David Beckham. Now, I'll start off. Well, have you got any questions about any of my list?
Well, I can understand the Derek Temple with being an Everton fan. He got the winner in the 66 FA Cup final. And I'm pretty sure I met him at a Ronnie Goodless dinner years ago.
Derek you would have.
Yeah.
Now, I picked Derek because I do see him at the match an awful lot, and he's of a generation of footballers that is long gone. He's still very suited and booted. He's the perfect gentleman. He's only ever had, he's still got he's still married to the woman that he was with when he was playing football. You see him now and he's so well spoken. Also, as well, he's not media trained, and by that I mean when you chat to him, you just get the story as it is. He's not looking. He's and he's a nice guy, and there's only put it this way: there's not many footballers whose careers were put on hold because they had to go and do national service.
Yeah.
So, his stories are incredible. He's the perfect gentleman. He's so polite, and he's great company to be with. And of course, he did play. He is an Everton giant. He's on the Everton wall. He's got his own plaque. So for an historical, I had to pick an Everton player, didn't I? But he would be my pick. There are better players, there's no doubt, but he's one of my favourites to be in the company of.
Oh, it's lovely to hear
Gordon Banks. Yeah, and Gordon Banks, again, the same. Never saw Gordon Banks play, only going off his history, being part of the World Cup winning team. And again, worked with him at dinners. And was just such, people always said, he won't sign autographs in case you go and sell them and this, that and the other. And it was so far from the truth when I got to work with him. He was happy to sign stuff for me little lad. And I always make sure they put my son's name on anything I get them to sign so they know that it's genuinely going home and all that.
Yeah.
And he was just wonderful company. And again, he's another one of that era that just had nice stories, told it how it was, loved, the adulation, and they weren't millionaires, was they? They were just regular blokes that were fantastic at football.
Yeah, and like I say, he's a top man, and to say you're like friends with a World Cup winner, and as in friends, you could just go across wherever you are and just go night, and he'll remember your name. It's it's a fantastic feeling, to be fair. And I used to know that story where they just beat Argentina in the quarterfinal. And he said, I'm in the dressing room. So now the champagne corks are popping. Next minute, there's a chair goes through a plate glass window. I look through. There's the Argentinians. They're wanting to bloody fight us. So I turn round. There's Nobby Charles peering through Big Jack Charlton's legs. Send the bastards in. I could virtually quote his act now. It's unbelievable.
Great, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Great guys.
And we were all uniquely privileged in that regard when we just sit and rub shoulders with these guys, and even get to call a few of them mates. And that's not going to happen again. I mean, for a start off, the next generation of footballers won't have the inclination to go and do a dinner in Altrincham on a Tuesday night, will they? Because they've all earned so much money from the game.
Yeah. Well, you say that, Rob, but there's always people who have gone through 3 divorces and will have to.
That's very true.
Bill Gates, then, do you think? Bill Gates?
Well, I couldn't see him going to the Woody Club in Doncaster, put it that way. But if he has one more divorce after this one, then there's a chance, guys, we could get him on Sunday afternoon. So who else did I go for? I had Kevin Keegan, another one I've worked with. Now, again, see, that's a weird one for me because he's a former Liverpool player. But in his company, I went to Isle of Man with him. And oh my God, right? Again, another pleasant chap. He did his talk. And just being in his presence for a couple of hours, you think, it's no wonder people would run through a brick wall for this fella. Exactly. I've never found anyone as enthusiastic and just emotional and he's interested in you, even if he's not. He gives a good act. He pretends to be, but he's not one of those that sits and goes, I'm Kevin Keegan. What do you want to know? You're trying to get in your questions as he's trying to get in his questions about you. And you're thinking, what do you want to know about me for? I'm driving for Tesco round Chorley tonight. But great player, great manager. He went, a player who went from England, he went to Hamburg, didn't he? And then, then obviously managed the country. And now you can see him speak and you can understand how he lost it because he's so passionate. Yeah. So I think his all-round career and even after football, that's where I sort of judged a couple of these on, is how they are still, after they've left the game as blokes, then he's up there. I never thought he'd say it.
I say speech is so unique as well.
Yeah.
It brings the slideshow.
Yes.
And, you said before, you can understand why people run through a brick wall because he's one of these people, he'll turn up and he knows what he's got to do. So if they want him there 2 hours before, he'll be there 3 hours before. He'll sign everything. He'll have a photo with everybody and he'll be the last to leave. He is a breath of fresh air, to be fair.
Yeah. And that enthusiasm and energy and, that typified his playing career as well, didn't it? Because we know he was talented, but people say he was the hardest working pro that you could come across in football. And, that stood him well when he won the European Player of the Year, didn't he? And, perhaps not as naturally gifted as some of the others, you would think, who've won that award, but he just worked harder than everyone else, if you believe what you read.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then I've gone for David Beckham. And I chose David Beckham because I think we all know why, because he was obviously an outstanding footballer. But in my mind, I always remember that World Cup when he went from absolute zero in the country in terms of likability when he came back, and then in that August when the season started, I'm pretty sure they played West Ham and they were all waving red cards because it was seen that he cost us that game against Argentina, and he was a talent then, but it was like he was petulant at that time, and for a lot of people that could have been the career over at that point in terms of how far he was going to take it, but he didn't. He sort of just went up a notch. And then you think that's it, and then it was up a notch, and then up a notch, and then up a notch. And then, he's known sort of all round the world and liked all around the world. So I think from a player who was at the bottom sort of emotionally and mentally at that time to bounce back and do, and you never hear him moan about it, do you? You never hear him complain about how cruelly England fans were. And let's be honest, the England fans were bloody cruel. Imagine if there was social media around then.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mind you, he could have ended Simeone's career with what he did. I mean, that was horrendous. That flick that he did. Oh,
it was dangerous, Gaz. Very dangerous.
oh, yeah.
And then, of course, I've gone for Maradona, the greatest player ever, I would say. And, you know, I'm just going to stop recording there because I'm going to burn out. Maradona, absolutely fantastic. His video as well, you know, the film that I watched recently, it was on Prime or Netflix.
Yeah.
Just sensational. You forget how great he was and influential he was at Napoli.
Yeah. Oh, he basically took Napoli all over the place, didn't he? They were basically Maradona, Napoli.
Yeah, exactly. So all good, all good.
Yeah.
So that's me footballers, lads.
Happy days. Gordon Banks, Derek Temple, Kevin Keegan, Maradona, and David Beckham. Your next one, we're going to go with your comedians, your top 5 comics.
All right then. So comedians, I've gone for Lee Mack, Ricky Gervais, Mick Miller, Peter Kay, John Bishop.
Right. Okay. We've had 3 of those in list before. 2 we haven't. So
we'll start with them then. Who have you not had before?
We've not had Ricky Gervais in a list of comics, and we've not had John Bishop in a list of comics yet. So
yeah, we've had some of Gervais's work, like
we've had like
came up, didn't it? And The Office. But as a stand-up, I mean, what do you think sets him apart for somebody who had never done stand-up until fairly late on in his career? He just seemed to nail it, didn't he?
Yeah, and I think if you go back and watch them all, which are all on Netflix, all his stand-up shows, you know, a lot of stand-up is based on confidence, and you can be confident when you've had successful TV shows and you've had a bit of profile, or you've been in the office, and you know you walk out and there's a room waiting just for you. Means you can be relaxed, means you can be more yourself. But then he did deliver it with great stand-up specials on Netflix. And if you go back, and one thing in lockdown is that we've had the ability to have time and fill in gaps with box sets. So highly recommend going back and watching the apps, because he talks about things that are classed as, like, say, maybe taboo.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he nails it, and you go, he's got a point there. Yeah. You know, he says you can't. One of the things he says is people say you can't joke about certain things anymore, and then he goes on to explain what you can talk about. There's never been a time in history where you can say exactly what you want now.
Yeah.
Not everyone will like it.
Yeah.
But there you go.
No, I'm a big fan of this.
John Bishop. I chose John Bishop not for his stand-up work now, which I don't doubt is excellent, but I don't think people will ever fully appreciate how brilliant he is in the room when it's only the room.
Right.
When it's only a small comedy club, and you're seeing him now doing his theatres or his arenas, or you see him on BBC, etc., when they do the Live at the Apollos and all that. But he got up there because of his sheer brilliance, and you sometimes only see that when they come off script and react in the room, and there was no one better. It's honestly incredible to do, like clubs with only 175 people in, or, you know, I saw him in Leeds at the Hi-Fi Club. You know, we were in the break and he just turned up, and he was just in the toilet next to me. I said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "Well, I've got some TV work coming up. I'm a bit rusty. I need to get it, you know, just blow a few cobwebs off." And the crowd were like, "Oh my God." And again, it's in the room where you see how quick his mind works and how he can react to certain things. It's just, you know, it's just incredible, yeah.
I used to love his early stuff, you know, the dressage stuff and the marathon. I thought his early stuff were brilliant. Really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah, loads of good stuff. Same with Peter Kay. Put Peter Kay on there. Never seen Peter Kay in an arena, but I did see Peter Kay at Bury Met with 200 people, and it was a preview show, a warm-up show for when he did his last big tour. Yeah. So it was just him and his jeans and a T-shirt, notes on the floor, 2 45-minute sets or something like that. You know, just him, just riffing it out. And some of it worked, some of it didn't work. He wasn't bothered, and then because you know that the next night he'll work on those little bits, and then 6 weeks later it went on to be the biggest grossing tour in comedy in the world.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But great for you to see it from inception. Yeah.
Well, I like to see a comedian's face when that's why you'll never get
eye contact for me. Always has been, always will be.
Yeah. That's why I won't go to an arena with that.
Yeah, I went to see Mickey Flanagan at Sheffield Arena, and I basically watched a screen. I might as well have waited till the DVD.
Yeah, but
exactly. You can't help it.
Yeah.
Peter Kay and John Bishop, they both have that sort of warmth that transcends alternative and traditional comedy. They're just, everybody loves them. They got the everyman factor.
Yeah, very likable people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Lee Mack.
Oh, Lee Mack, go on then.
Lee Mack.
Yeah.
I chose because he's the last comedian I ever bought a ticket to watch.
Really? I've seen Lee Mack
because
live.
normally we get it.
Love him.
Because we can get it for free, can't we? Most of the time, you just make a call and you can get it on the guest list. But I didn't know Lee Mack. So I'd seen his stand-up special on TV and wanted to go see him. And he did the Liverpool Philharmonic, which is, it's a big theatre. But it's one of those theatres where you're close enough to see the face. There's no need for screens. He was just outstanding, and he's a bit sort of one of the old school, really, worked his way up through the holiday park. You can see that style in him, but he's so current, and he's just brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I thought he was the best ad-libber I'd ever seen live. I found him to be incredibly quick, to the extent that I wanted to go and see him the following night and see how much of it was spontaneous. He was just different class.
I'm going to move just there to cool myself down.
That's fair enough.
The computer was taking the sunlight and it was getting really warm, and I didn't want to cut out through burning out.
I saw Lee Mack at Leeds City Varieties years ago, and this how long ago his warm-up was Rod Gilbert.
Oh, wow.
And you think yourself, at least if you're going to see Lee Mack, you bought a ticket, you're not going to be an arsehole. There was an arsehole in the audience. He heckled Rod Gilbert throughout. Absolute, but Rod Gilbert, he ruined him, to be fair. He was brilliant with him. But just, you could tell and how pissed off he was that he couldn't just go and do his stuff, because this fellow just at him all the time. And I thought, well, at least when Lee Mack comes on, he's paid to see him. Oh, no. This prick carried on.
Really?
Yeah, and instead of Lee Mack doing whatever he did about 45, 50 minutes, because this fellow was horrendous, just an absolute tool, and no one took him out. Just ruined the whole night.
Wow.
Yeah.
And my last one, Mick Miller.
Oh, yeah.
He's come up once before.
Yeah, it's great timing.
Yeah.
Great timing.
Well, I chose Mick because I grew up on the comedians, traditional old school comedy as it was then, different, it's a different style, and there's not many that have held the standards through all the generations. Mick Miller is still able to perform to a comedy club now, as well as he did perform to a social club back in the 70s. Absolutely brilliant. He's evolved. You can see him at a dinner, you can see him on a cruise ship, and also as well, we actually did a dinner where there was several comics on. I was hosting, and the audience were lacking in respect, I would say, for the other comedians, only doing short spots, one of these lunches, and they were a bit, they weren't bothered. They just wanted to see Mick Miller, really, the star attraction at the end. So when it got to the end, Mick, he has his bottle of gin and his glass to do the noddy thing, all the rest of it. So he's done his bit. You couldn't hear a pin drop when he stood up. They were just hanging off every word. The laughter was just taking the roof off. He was going down a storm. And then he sat down and he didn't do the gin routine at the end, right? And he said, so they're all expecting an encore. And he turned around to the top table, which was the other comics, and he went, just so you all know, he said, I didn't get that because of what I did. I got that reception because of who I am. And then he points at the gin and he went, and they didn't deserve that. And
Wow.
that's why he didn't do it.
Good.
Bravo, Mick.
Well,
Bravo.
yeah, he's a top bloke as well, and he really is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he stood firm with all the lads.
yeah,
Brilliant.
that's great.
Brilliant.
I mean, you think of all the great double acts. I'm talking Stan and Ollie, Abbott and Costello, Little and Large, Cannon and Ball, Hill and Pace, Zig and Zag, Mike and Bernie Winters, the Crankies, the list goes on. And Gary and Rod, they're just not them, are they?
Brilliant. Your next one, we're going to go with venues or stadiums. Now, you've sent me them through, the venues or stadiums. Interesting, especially the last one.
Yes, I've gone for, and it's because I tried to pick things that would sort of that have triggered a memory that you can always go, I'll tell that, you know, instead of just going fantastic. So I've gone for Ayresome Park, Vicarage Road, Springfield Park, which is Wigan, Feyenoord Stadium, and Battersea Power Station.
Battersea Power Station.
Oh, I can't wait for the Battersea one.
So, well, I'll do Ayresome Park, was obviously the home of Middlesbrough.
Middlesbrough, yep.
Away match, watching Everton, pulled up at night, it's pitch black, the rain's lashing it down. It's an old traditional stadium, huge brick walls as you're driving up, and you get off the coach, and as soon as you get in, I'm soaking wet, and I need a pee, and I've gone through the turnstile, straight to the toilet, gone in the toilet, and it's wetter in there. There's no roof on the toilet. So we're all having a pee, and everyone's feet are getting splashed, and you're looking up, and you just wouldn't even think nowadays, would you, that a football stadium would have no roof on the toilet?
Yeah, horrible place to go. Horrible place.
Vicarage Road, obviously the home of Watford. I chose that because that was one of the most miserable Tuesday or Wednesday nights I'd ever had as a fan. And the reason being is that back then, if you wanted to follow Everton away, you had to collect your away stubs, right?
Yep.
So, and then you'd stick them on this little poster, and when away tickets came up, they'd say, right, season ticket holders with 6 away stubs.
Yep.
So it was rewarding loyalty. And so you had to go to the poor games to go to the poor opposition relatively, you know, in the cup to be rewarded for, say, the Derby or Man United or whatever, you know. And it was only when we were sort of 3 hours down the M1, etc., you know, M6, M1, on this miserable Tuesday night, in probably, I think it was the League Cup, you know, and we were chatting, me and my mate, and we said, oh, you know, but listen, we were like, this is mad. Why are we doing this to us? We're going to be back late, we're going to be up for work in the morning. And we said, yeah, but if we don't do this, we won't get to go to the... And then it was only when it dawned on us, we went, yeah, but we've bought the ticket. We don't actually have to go to the game. and we went in Watford, and we're like, what the bloody hell's this? So Springfield Park I chose, again, because it's an old stadium. The beauty of Springfield Park, which is the old Wigan Stadium, is they had one main stand.
Yep.
That's all they had. And then the only other covered bit was what was like a cow shed over the other side.
Yeah, I remember it well.
And I chose it because I used to go and watch Wigan if Everton weren't playing or if they were away and going and stuff. And I loved the fact that you could actually go on the halfway line, and then when the teams changed, you could walk to the other end at half time, so you could go stand behind the other goal.
Yeah.
And if it rained, you could just go under the cow shed. So it was just the fact that you could just spend the whole day. So if you ever look at old footage of Wigan Athletic, when there's a goal, it looks packed, right? Because the crowd just moved all day.
I saw Doncaster Rovers win 2-0 at Springfield Park years and years ago. Like yourself, I'm an Arsenal fan, but I'm also been a Doncaster lad. I like to see my hometown doing well. And David Jones and Ian Muir scored in a 2-0 victory. The only time I've been to Springfield Park. But I remember it very well. I was sat in the stand, like you say, everything else completely bare, apart from like a tin hut over the other side. Brilliant. Yeah. Proper football.
Yeah.
Proper. I chose Feyenoord Stadium. Now, I went to Feyenoord Stadium by accident. Now, because it was Everton were playing there in the European Cup Winners' Cup in 1996. And it was at 90, it would have been 95, it would have been, because we won the Cup in 95 in the May, and then later on that year we would have been in the Cup Winners' Cup, and no intention of going, and I think we were playing on the Wednesday night, and then my mate rang me on the Tuesday and said, should we go to the match tomorrow? And I thought we were going to watch Tranmere or something, you know. I said, which match? And he went, Everton. I went, they're playing away, they're at Feyenoord. He went, yeah, but we can get a ticket. They've got tickets if you go with the club on the official bus. So straight away, I was working in a bank at the time, and I said to the manager, I went, can I have the day off tomorrow? Like, go and get tickets and go and watch Everton. And he went, yeah, sound, yeah. So literally, we had to go to Goodison, join the travel club. This is all in 24 hours. Then be on a coach at midnight, because the coach then travelled through the night down to the docks at Dover. Then you obviously crossed over into Belgium or wherever it landed us, and then we drove into Holland, and then we got to Feyenoord Square at about 3 o'clock. All the Evertonians, there would have been at least 3,000 or 4,000 Evertonians, put us all in a square, and then they said, right, you come back to your buses at 6 o'clock, and so we had 3 hours in. And then we got to the stadium. It was an incredible stadium. It was an incredible atmosphere. The only European away trip I've ever done. We got beat, and then had to get back on the bus and then drive all the way back to Liverpool after that. So I think I chose that one because of the memory. I've got no recollection of the stadium.
It sounds nice, though, to be fair. This is the one I'm looking forward to. Battersea Power Station. I know the venue.
Yes. I went there to watch The Prodigy. This was by accident as well. Now, I had no intention of going, but my brother worked for a brewery at the time. And he said, I think this was on a Sunday afternoon in the pub, I've got some tickets, he says, with one of the sponsors. He says, The Prodigy are playing at Battersea Power Station. Do you want to come? So we went, yeah, all right. So 4 of us went down in the car, and we've got there, and we've parked up, and we've gone into what was the power station. And The Prodigy are on, which I'd heard some of the songs, but I'd never been witness to a live performance. And we're just in this old space, which was just packed, and I didn't know what to expect. And all of a sudden, because you go in, you know Battersea Power Station, it's got the huge towers, so as you can see it, thinking, what's it going to be like in there? So we're all stood there, you sort of huddled together. And then all this bass started, and the old buildings, it felt like it was crumbling around you. And it was the start of the show. And then this lad just next to me just went, this is going to go off. Right? And he took his teeth out, right? And he put his teeth in his top pocket and pulled the button on. And then the band walked out to this explosion of noise. And it was just like, imagine if you just got peas with no water in a pan and you just started flicking them up and down. And that's what it was for 2 hours, right? Everyone, we come out, we were dripping. And then we went to the after show party, you see, which was this little venue that was done up like a hospital and an asylum. So my brother's going, yeah, we'll get in. And we're like, oh, really? It's going to be London prices. We don't want to be paying in here. Anyway, we've gone in, and it's on 3 levels. It was a reception to a hospital on the ground floor. Then you had the medicine, which was all beers and bars and all this sort of stuff. And then on the top floor was like a padded cells, which was where the dance floor was. You've got Keith Flint stood there having a pint. Right? All the Prodigy were in there because it was only people who paid for the record label and the sponsors. So we're in there, I'm saying to my mate, them girls look tasty. Eh? Go to the bar, get some drinks, here's a tenner. I'm thinking, I'm not paying at that bar. Right? He come back, he went, they're only free. I went, oh, drinks are free. I went, look at these girls here. I says, come on, we'll just chat to these girls here. So, all right, girls. Right, proper Scouse then, you know. Anyway, it turns out it was the 2 Apatow sisters, you know, from
Natalie and
All Saints.
All Saints. So the girls we're chatting the girls from All Saints, right? Not realising brother's having a heart attack because his company sponsors. We've all had a few drinks. My brother's driving, you see. His sweat's dripping off him. You can't do this. You can't do that. Anyway, stood there. Gets better, done it. It's suggested we move on. Only by Terence Trent D'Arby.
No.
Yeah, he's quite an imposing character, is Terence. So he goes, move on, lads, move on. My mate goes, are you Terence Trent D'Arby? So we're starstruck, but we're going to get filled in. So because I think he was an amateur boxer, wasn't he, Terence?
He couldn't, looking at
He
him.
looks like he might have been,
definitely.
yeah.
So we got go, and Brian Tilsley was in the toilet.
Brian Tilsley.
Christopher Quinton.
That is...
What
There's
a name
something
for
very,
a
very
pilot,
surreal about that whole night. You sure you didn't dream it?
No, we absolutely bounced the next day.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know something? I was hoping you'd work there as a comic because I know they do. That Battersea Power Station has held comedy nights, which, if you look at it, it's just pathetic that someone's going to put a comedy night in that venue.
I made a mental note
disappoint
years
you
ago
guys.
never to take a gig there because someone said it was a graveyard for comedy, but obviously it was fine for the Prodigy.
Yeah, it's so vacuous as a space and so high as the ceilings. It would never work for comedy. Never.
Oh, I was hoping it was like, yeah, my first ever gig was at Battersea Power Station.
You've got a masochistic streak.
I know, I was just thinking, this is going to be. Oh.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys. You mentioned.
Lovely.
I'll give you a comedy story then,
Go on.
because you mentioned Mickey Flanagan before.
Yeah.
One of the first times I ever did an open spot at Jongleurs, you always hope at that time. An open spot is the free spot, isn't it? Obviously,
Yeah.
And you always hope that the first act on isn't particularly outstanding. As long as they're good, that's great. But you don't want to go on after someone that's been incredible. So I've gone down to, it wouldn't have been Battersea, it would have been they have a market somewhere in Camden.
Yeah, Camden.
London. Driven down, parked up, gone to Jongleurs straight away. I've walked in, dressing room, look at the sheet, who's number one on the sheet, opening the show, Mickey Flanagan. And I thought, oh, you are joking, right? He's on his home turf, Mickey Flanagan at Jongleurs, and I've got to do my 8 minutes as a trial following him.
Wow.
He absolutely slaughtered them. He was doing all stuff about his kimono, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Enter the Dragon.
Luckily for me, they were still laughing for 8 minutes after he'd left the stage. So I just kept waving.
Brilliant. So we're going on to your films now, Jay.
Yes,
top
but
five
let
films.
me just let the cat in. Go on.
Nice
Just
garden.
showing that garden's looking lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, lovely. I
There
love
you go.
those stepping stones, you know, the way
Oh, thanks, mate.
people actually do step on them, don't they? I
Oh,
do. If I'm ever
okay.
walking down them, I make sure I do every one of them, like hopscotch. I just love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, films, eh?
Films.
I have a rule on films. The rule is, if we ever watch a film, it's got to be more than 7 on IMDb.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
So you
I know where you are.
trust it.
Martyrs, IMDb. You've got it. Yeah, you've got to check them out first. I'm with you on that.
Do you actually hold IMDb above Rotten Tomatoes then in terms of stock?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any film we watch, I Google if it's not a film that we've sort of know has been in the cinema.
Okay.
So any film we put on, straight on the Google, IMDb, it's got to get 7.
Right.
If it doesn't get 7, it don't go on.
Right. Okay.
So
But
all
I'm
my
guessing
films,
some of these films were pre-IMDb, weren't they? Some of your choices, possibly?
but the classics, and if you go onto IMDb now, they still score.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Every one of these films, if you went onto today, IMDb would score 7.
Fair play.
I'm going on now.
Then I'll get the list. I've got it here. I wrote it down for you.
Are you on IMDb, Gaz?
Hey?
Are you checking them out on
Yeah.
IMDb? He keeps
Right.
the list in the garden. Oh,
Is
no,
what?
it's back in there. I thought you'd gone out the garden for the list.
No, I've got it. So the first one,
Yeah.
Jaws. That scores an 8.
Scores 8.
Scores 8.
That's pretty harsh, isn't it, for Jaws? You'd think
It
it'd
is
have more.
really.
Well, I think any film. I'll shut this door because I'm in and Bert's tweeting.
I thought Ian Parsons was back then. I was expecting the parrot to chip in.
Jaws, because there's not many films, is there, that you can go for so long without actually seeing the baddie.
Good point.
Yeah.
So
We're
the
gonna-
baddie hardly acted.
What about Line of Duty?
I didn't watch it.
No.
Didn't watch it. I refused.
Yeah, you'd have been
Any
disappointed
box
because we
like that.
didn't see the baddie in the end, really, did we?
Well, Here's another rule I have. If there's a box set that everyone starts raving about, I'll never watch it until it's actually concluded, because then I know there's an end.
Right, okay.
Breaking Bad, prime example.
Right.
Only watched that after it finished, because I knew it ended and people were satisfied with the end.
Okay.
So I got Jaws.
Jaws, talking about Jaws, there was a part in Jaws that I would have been 10 when it first came out. Oh my God, it shit me up. When it's going down and that head just appears. I don't want to give it away. That head just appears in like a boat. Oh, one of the scariest things ever in the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a rotten head.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
Here's the thing, guys. I'm Rod. Rod went to a beach, Avoca Beach in Australia, talking to sharks. My little lad was having a surf lesson. They like to get up very early, don't they, in Australia? It was about 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, his lesson.
Oh.
So I'm having a coffee. This hunk is doing the lesson. Leave him to it. Right? Look like Mrs. Mangle's lad from Neighbours. Anyway, he's out there. And I'm having a coffee with this fella, and I says, love here, isn't it? I says, you know, all these kids all in the water, getting their exercise in. He went, yeah. He went, shark alarm went off twice yesterday. Right? Now, crucially, what I want to know is, who was around to hear it the second time?
I don't think I'd ever go in the sea in Australia.
No.
When I'm in Spain, I can hear cellos. If I'm in the sea in Spain, I can hear cello.
I watched a documentary the other day, and it was John Williams who wrote that bit of music, you know, and he was talking about the first time he played the music to Steven Spielberg, and they sat down at the meeting, and Spielberg says, all right, John, you know, what have you got for me? And he just went to the piano and he went, da-dum, da-dum. And he burst out laughing, Spielberg, and he said, no, seriously, what have you written? And he said, no, honestly, he said, you don't get it. And he after about 10 minutes, he said, well, I think I know where you're coming from. And he said it wasn't until they introduced that, you know, and suddenly what the impact it had on the world, didn't it? That film.
God, it's horrible. Oh, it's a brilliant film.
Yeah.
So simple. So simple.
Yeah, so simple.
Next one, Rambo First Blood.
Oh.
Brilliant film.
And he was brilliant in it, wasn't he?
Yeah, 7.7, by the way.
7.7.
I thought that I got higher, to be fair. I thought Rambo First Blood would have been a biggie.
Well, you'd think, but 7.7 is still impressive. It's still a good score. And I think that's because, I don't know about you, but whenever we get at home on a Friday night from a show, when we do shows, it always seems to be on.
Right.
No matter what time of the year, it's always on, Rambo.
But it's a film you can just like get into, can't you? You've seen it that many times. You've halfway through, I'll watch this. What's the end of this?
Yeah.
Exactly. It doesn't matter whether there's an hour left or 20 minutes left. When you get in from work, you can just sit down and go, yep, you know where you're up to. Yeah. And you can just go along like catching up with an old friend.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant film.
Great characters. Brian Dennehy and that was outstanding, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, he died recently, didn't he, Brian Dennehy?
Yeah. Underrated he was, I reckon.
Next one, Dirty Harry.
Dirty Harry, Clint.
7.7.
7.7. Is that higher than First Blood or same? Was that the same?
Same.
Same, yeah.
Now, I went for Dirty Harry. Again, this was a lockdown film. Because sometimes now on Netflix and stuff, instead of going through and seeing what's the most common releases, etc., we went through and started searching by actor. And you go, all right, so say we watch, it was Gran Torino or something like that with Clint Eastwood. So then it's like, okay, let's see what other Clint Eastwood films we've missed out on. And then there was all the Dirty Harry collection. And in, I think, 7 days, we watched every night a Clint Eastwood film, and we did the whole Dirty Harry sort of set, night after night, in order that it came out. And again, I think you forget the simplicity, the structure of those films. They weren't complicated. There wasn't like 10 layers where you had to, you know, you could go and get a drink out the fridge, come back and go, did anyone get shot? Yes or no? Sit down, carry on watching.
Yeah. It was like a Western set in San Francisco, wasn't it?
Exactly. But absolutely brilliant, simple. and timeless, because them films must be like 40, 45, 50 years old, possibly.
Yeah.
I used to do a coronavirus quiz. My mate's lad, he's 12-year-old, used to do a quiz every Thursday. Charlie's quiz, it used to be called. And he used to do like a round of movie posters. And every week, you can guarantee there was a Dirty Harry poster. And they all look the same, just like a big gun.
Yeah.
It's like, is it Dirty Harry? Is it Sudden Impact this week? I can't remember. They're all exactly, the posters are exactly the same.
Yeah.
Oh,
Max 45.
And I mean, speaking of movie villains like Jaws, and that, he was the greatest movie villain ever, wasn't he, Scorpio? He was just fantastic. Was, yeah.
Brilliant.
He masked and that ludicrous laugh that he had, and the line at the end when he gives him the spiel and he dies for the gun, doesn't he? It's just great cinematic moment. That
Brilliant.
Exactly.
Good choice, mate.
2 to go.
Yep.
Both in the 8. Yeah, both in the 8. Now, we had 8 for Jaws. We've got an 8.2, which is Die Hard.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Die Hard. Hey, that's 4 films of a series, but it's always the first. They say the first one's the best, don't they? And that's obviously been the case with all 4 of them, because they all
Again, it hooks you in.
Yeah.
To me, it signifies the start of Christmas.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and again, like the other films, the plot was simple. It's easy to follow. It's it's of that generation. Bruce Willis was in his prime at that time, and again, it's another film that you can pick up at any point and watch till the end.
Yeah, I love the only thing I had against it was it brought vests back, and I'm not built for vests. I had a go, but.
It's weird that it's synonymous with Christmas, because nothing smacks of Christmas more than a terrorist, siege in a skyscraper.
Exactly.
But it's that music at the end, isn't it? Oh, the weather outside is frightful.
And the final one. Now, here's an interesting point, because you just said there, Rod, you just said it's always the first, but I've picked a third for this one.
Dumb and Dumber 3?
It's an 8.2.
Right.
And it's Toy Story 3.
Wow.
Brilliant.
There are probably only a few films where you could pick a sequel that's better than the first, and that would have to be one of the cases. Yeah.
My wife doesn't realise that she's actually on video, and it's a video podcast.
There she is.
She's going to find what you can pop.
Shut the door.
Shut the door. So, we're going out in a minute.
Toy Story 3.
There was that baby in it, wasn't there? The horrible baby with the winky eye. God, that was horrible.
Yes. Winky eye?
I think it's
I like PPI.
It's one of those that, even though it's an animation film, at the end, it's so emotional, and so you can actually feel yourself welling up, because there's a chance all the characters are going to die.
Oh.
So it's a good family film. It's because when you've got kids and stuff, but then even adults will watch it. It's an incredible film. I don't think they should have made a 4th. I think that was it. It peaked, but pressure and money came into it. But an incredible film, an incredible end to the trilogy, because I'm not counting the 4th because I didn't enjoy that.
Let's talk of a 5th.
Oh, they'll keep rolling them out.
They will do. Especially when you think...
There was a twist in the 3, there was a twist with the big bear on the crutch. He turned out to be the baddie. He weren't a baddie early doors. Next minute, he's like Blofeld.
Yeah.
Lotso.
Yeah.
Lotso, that's
him.
He's a hugger.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
You don't need kids to watch it either. That's the good thing about Toy Story.
No, it's so multi-layered, and cost 200 million to make and made $1 billion. So it's no wonder they keep reeling them out.
Really?
Yeah.
God, wow, that's incredible.
So on to your final.
Yeah, I like the Gimme 5 podcast because, it's crazy.
So on to your final one, your dinner party guests.
Yes. So at first, right, let's see who I chose here. Because at first, I wanted to do, I was going to do fictional ones, because sometimes people, when you meet them, aren't as exciting.
Well, stick a fictional one in.
I have.
Right, okay.
I've gone with Clyde from the Clint Eastwood films, the orangutan.
Every which way but loose.
Yeah,
Every which way you can.
because he's a celebrity.
Oh, he is.
And how great would it be to have an orangutan round the table?
I would love it. I've always
Music
wanted
with an orangutan.
Because if you think of any other guests you invite, if one of them turns out to be a little bit duller than you hoped, you can all just refocus back to the orangutan, can't you?
Yeah, it's a good shot.
Nuffy pie must be on the menu, I'm guessing.
But yeah, but you know, if you go to someone's house and they've got a dog,
Yeah.
and you think, oh, this is a bit boring, you just find yourself... How many times have you been to a party and you've ended up just being best mates with the dog?
Stroking a schnauzer in the corner. Yeah, exactly.
So I've gone for him. I've gone for Clyde.
Yep.
And then I've tried to sort of go for people who I hope would be good company and also entertaining. So I've gone for Rob Brydon.
Thank God for that. At last, we've got a Welsh connection.
I was
Because
getting worried this would have been the first week we hadn't had one then.
Oh, thank God for that. Honestly, it's basically Wales, 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 this podcast.
well, the thing is with Rob Brydon is I don't think people appreciate his full range of talent until you know you see him on that him and Steve Coogan going around the country, and the trip. Yeah, it's so absolutely brilliant. He, I've watched it as a stand-up as well. Fantastic as a stand-up, as an actor, as an impressionist, and he comes across as good company on the trip, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
So I've gone for him, trying to sort of put a bit of rock star in there. So I thought, which rock star? So I've gone for Noel Gallagher because he seems straightforward, doesn't he? And I think if anyone was being a bit out of order or a bit above themselves because they're all A-listers, he might be the one to step in and tell them to shut up.
And thank God for that. We've had Liam in someone's list, and now we've got Noel. That levels it up. We're happy with that.
Fantastic. Then I'd go for Will Ferrell.
Oh,
Emmett chose Will Ferrell.
that gets my vote. Massive Will Ferrell fan.
Yeah. Well, do you know, did you say Pete?
Yeah, Pete Emmett. He said he met it well.
He was at Anfield.
Was it Anfield? Was it Anfield? He was, yeah. He mentioned that, yeah.
He went the match, you see, and Pete, I phoned Pete at that exact moment, just by accident. How's it going, mate? He said, I'm just in the lounge now. I said, who have you got in today? And he went through his guests and he went, Will Ferrell's here. And I went, go away. My lad was in the car and I went, Bradley, I said, Elf. Will Ferrell is in with Pete. And Bradley went, what, Elf? I went, no, he's not dressed as Elf. I said, should we go down and we could probably say hello? And he goes, well, it's just a bloke. He said, if he's not dressed as Elf,
Brings you back down to earth, doesn't it?
Yeah, what's the point in going to meet him if he's just dressed as himself?
That's a good point.
So, and my final, did I go to have a final one? So, Will Ferrell. Oh, and I said I pick you, Gaz.
Yeah.
Because I reckon when you try and replay these stories to other people always say you're making it up, or they'll walk away and go, who's lying. So I think you always need a mate as a backup.
Good point. Good point.
I'll back you up on that. And also, you need a bit of eye candy as well, don't you?
Well, it is that.
People have picked Cheryl Cole, Amanda Holden, Shania Twain. So obviously, a bit of eye candy for you. Not a
Yeah,
problem.
but you are up against the orangutan and Will Ferrell. Some cracking choices there, Jamie. Absolutely.
Thanks, mate.
And a few really left field ones, including Prodigy. I would never have had you.
Prodigy at Battersea Power. I'm Terence Trent Derby. what did Harry Hill say? The River Trent's not even in Derby.
Oh, fantastic.
Brian Tilsley. Wow. Derek Temple.
Brian Tilsley, I forgot he crept in as well on the same.
Brian Tilsley. One of the weirdest stories ever. Prodigy at the Battersea Power Station.
You would definitely need him there to bear you out on that one, I reckon.
Exactly. Exactly.
So what are you going to do for the rest of the day? It looks lovely in Wigan.
I'm going to go, she's sat there now, to Bent Garden Centre to pay an exuberant price for a cheap treat to go somewhere down there.
Oh, wow.
And then I'm driving tonight. We've got a show starting again in a couple of weeks, but I'll be driving tonight in my Tesco van, beep, beep, all the way around Lancashire. Probably till about 10 o'clock or something like that. I don't mind that.
And are you going over lines and stuff, or will you just cross that bridge when you come to it?
I've done a lot of stuff online, you see. So I've got a show tomorrow online between 4 and 5. So I'm trying to just keep everything in the same order and making notes and sort of keeping it all down so that when one goes to the next, then obviously I can just recall it. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So you're pretty match fit then.
Zoom.
I should be all right to go. I could do a straight 30 tonight if needed. But then obviously some of the longer shows or cleaner shows, you're just going to need to dust it off. You know,
some of your weird afternoon shows that I'll tip my hat off to you when you do like a women's institute luncheon. How do you do that? That's just amazing.
80 women, all of an age.
Yeah, all like Hyacinth Bouquet.
And they were so up for it, but we spent the majority of the hour saying, "Can you unmute yourself, Margaret? Margaret, will you put your camera on?" So yeah, put ourselves out there for online stuff. The online stuff's been pretty good actually. It's worked out all right. We've certainly got better at it, haven't we? But nothing better than live.
Before you go, we've got a film we're going to try and tell everyone to watch, Rod, haven't we? And
Yes, we have.
I've just checked 7.3 on TV. Go on, Rod.
Yeah, it's called The Fundamentals of Caring, and this is something I sort of happened upon during the lockdown, and I passed it on to Gaz, and normally I would cop for a lot of stick for suggesting a film to him, but he was taken by it, to say the least, and so we're just trying to spread the word. It's a well-kept secret, but not anymore.
7.3, get it watched.
We'll get on that.
Yeah.
7.3 will do for me.
It meets your criteria. That's the main thing.
Cheers, Jay. Have a lovely day round the garden centre.
Yeah.
Nice one.
Look forward to seeing you, mate.
Cheers, matey.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Ta-da.
I personally won't be listening to the Gimme 5 podcast because I haven't seen Gimme 1, 2, 3 or 4.
Jamie Sutherland there with some fantastic picks, and we've talked about great guys, and he's certainly one of them, isn't he?
Yeah, and at last I make a dinner party guest list. Do you know what I mean?
I tell you what, yeah, I didn't see that coming, did you?
Neither did I. I'll be honest with you.
No, like the Gallaghers, I hope someone picks me to balance it out. I might put someone up to it. I'm gonna have to get my mother on as a guest.
She picked me.
She'd pick you as well, like. Fantastic. Well, there it is, guys. Another installation that we pretty much got through, I think. Remains to be seen whether we can find the recording.
I'm guessing we'll be doing it again next week.
We could be. That could be a dry run. But in any case, it's been a pleasure to have your company. And this, as ever, has been a Tis Done production.
Has it?
Courtesy of Ian
Really?
Parsons. Although
has it been a Tis Done? No, it's not.
He's gone walkabout today.
Where is he?
He is there. He is there.
We've had no little snippets. Nothing. Pathetic. You've been useless, Parsons.
So that's about all we have time for, and I think we're going to say over and out before any more modems go down.
Whatever they are.
Nano.
Woodward.
Nano.